And it's very hard for us to comprehend that. Right? It's very hard for the mental body to comprehend that. I'll give an example of that in my own realization. My father commits suicide, right? And on the same day as my father commits suicide, as it was discovered, my mother's heart broke. She was madly in love with this person, right? And her entire world crashed on that day. So I lost my mother and my father in the same day, right? Emotionally, she became completely unavailable to me. So now, how can I say, from a point of view of being in the emotional signature, if someone comes up to me and says, that was supposed to happen, what are you trying to tell me? How can you dare say that to me? That shouldn't have happened, right? Do you know the amount of pain and stuff that I've gone through because of that? That should never have happened. But when I journey into the emotional signature, and I really go to the causal point of the event, and I sit and I digest that emotional signature, right? And there's all sorts of revelations that come out of that for me. Because, like I said, after the digestion of the emotional signature comes the insight that awakens. And I can see now my life very clearly, it's been shown to me, as a consequence of those two events. The first one was, no one really told me my father was dead. They don't know how to say, you know, your father's committed suicide. They just go, he's gone away. He's not coming back. Whatever they say, but they don't tell me he's dead, right? So in my psychological makeup, I go out searching for my father. My life became, there's a part of me that went out looking for my father, right? And that part of me led me right to there. It led me into a real relationship with my real father. That triggered that journey into finding out who my real father was and establishing a real relationship. I don't have any big relationship with God, but I tell you what, it's real. That's all I asked for. I don't need anything big, just give me real. And I have real. And it comes from that event, right? The other part was, I realized there was something wrong with my mother. I realized that she was there one day and she was gone the next. She was there, but she was gone. Something was wrong with my mother. Something was wrong here, right? And psychologically, I saw how I went out into the world to find a way to fix my mother. And I only realized truly when I'd completed the presence process and I had this book in my hand, this is what I did to fix my mother, right? The presence process comes out of a way to fix this, what's going on here. So I went out and looked for a way to fix the heart of my mother, because of that event, because I knew there was something wrong with her. And that's why it was a point of completion, but I'd already realized it, but a point of completion when she phoned and said, I want to do the process, because, so this is what it's been about, right, in my makeup. So for me to say, my father shouldn't have died, and my mother shouldn't have gone through what she went through, what would have happened? You know how many people have been benefited from this work? Right? How many people? Many. Some die so that others may live. That's the way it is here. Some die so that others may live. And we can't comprehend that from the world of the physical form. When I'm attached to physical form, I don't like what I see happening in a form. It should be another way. This is not what's supposed to be happening. But we can't see the bigger picture until we start integrating this. So I'm saying it's not that everything is preordained, but I know it's way more mysterious than the mental body can understand. Also, when I was 18 years old, before I was 18 years old, my mother used to go and see this woman called Jean Holland. She used to go and see her once a year. I just thought she was some clairvoyant or psychic. And so one day my mother came to me and said, Michael, your stepfather is going to die next year on the 4th of March. I want to make sure that you're at home then so you can pick your sisters up from school. I thought that was pretty weird, right? And he had Parkinson's. He wasn't well, right? He wasn't well. So I thought that was pretty a weird thing to say, but she could confide in me because I'd become the helper, right? I'd become my mother's helper because I knew there was something wrong, and I developed that relationship. So she could talk to me about all sorts of things that I couldn't deal with. So she told me about that, right? And trues, next year, 4th of March, my father dies. And I'm at home, and I go and pick up my sisters from school. And I go, no, that is pretty cool. I want to see this woman. I want to see this woman. So I said to my mother, I want to see this woman. And my mother said, no, she won't see anyone under the age of 25 because she doesn't want to influence anyone's life, and she doesn't want to talk about love, romance, money, all that, right? It's not her job, not her thing. So I asked a couple of times to see her, and eventually I gave up. And then one day, I think it was in my first year of university, my mother phoned me and said, Jean wants to see you. And I went, this is groovy, right? So I drove to her house, and that was the first time I ever met anyone who spoke my language. It's the first time I actually felt sane in the world. I met this person. She looked like an ordinary suburban housewife. There was nothing fancy. She took you into a room and put you against a white wall, and you sat in a chair, and then she sat down, she put on a tape recorder, and she said, okay, now they're going to show me everything around you. I just see it on the wall, and this is what I see, right? And she told me that I would be standing here. She told me about the pathway of awareness. She told me about the various places I would go and the various people I would meet along my journey. She told me that I would go through nearly 10 years of agony and pain. She told me not to commit suicide because I'd asked for it, because that's the only way I would get into the body, right? That was my teacher. She told me all of this when I was 18, 19 years old. None of it made any sense to me. But as my life unfolded, I recognized the signposts. I'd be standing outside a teepee, wearing a checkered waistcoat, talking to a Navajo medicine man, and I would remember she'd say, oh, and you're going to go in a wigwam. This is what we're called in South Africa. You're going to be in a wigwam with a Navajo, because they're writing Navajo on the wall, and you're going to do ceremonies with these. And it was me like, wow, this is like cowboys and Indians, So I didn't know what the stuff was. I was a South African. But it all unfolded. Now, how she was able to see that and know that, I don't know. Life is way more mysterious than the mental body can handle. So I've seen how there's certain things that are preordained. There's certain things that are preordained. And I've had experiences where, to me, this already happened. We just came back into it to be with it without condition. Right? In many ways, it's already all happened. Just like I can go back to my childhood and be with my child consciously as it goes through its experiences, and just allow it to relax through that. Because it already happened. There's nothing it can do about it. So I don't profess to understand these things, but I do know in my own life that the more I've been able to be with what is and not mess with it, the more things begin to transform in the most profound way. And so there is this thing that it's preordained, but there is this thing of participation. Do I respond or do I react? Because I've noticed that when I respond, things come to completion. When I react, I create all this drama that I have to then go and clear up. Right? All this extra energy that's expended that I have to go and so the less I react to what's happening in my life, it just starts to go very smoothly, and everything that's required is provided. And everything is coming to a point of completion, right? And that's my experience of it. And I'm also, you see, the way that I am is I'm really, one of my teachers, he was a Cheyenne medicine man, and he always used to say, whatever you do, keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. It's way bigger than you can contain it on the mental, right? So I'm open to the experience that this entire insight that I'm sharing with you is valid but it's also maybe completely invalid for somebody else. This is not the way. This is just a way of approaching a conversation or a participation with that which cannot be spoken about. Because what I was saying earlier, when the penny drops about this work, you just burst out laughing, because there's nothing to do. There's nothing to do but to be with what is. To be with what is. And then the action that comes is really an expression of life. It's expressing being alive. It's not trying to fix life. It's not trying to fix God, but to enjoy God. It's a very big difference, right? It's a very big difference. There's always going to be momentum. It's not about there's no momentum. It's what is my intent in this moment? Am I able to be with it? Am I open to it? Or am I closed to that and only open to this, right? And in my personal journey, it's been about finding out where I'm closed and opening, and opening, and opening. And if I can't open, well, we really need to do some work here, right? Because there's fear, anger, and grief about this because I can't open to it. So let's be with it. Let's bring it up and be with it, and eventually it opens. And when it opens, the gifts come through, right? And in my experience, my task is to open the portal on this side of my experience, in the physical world. Not to leave the physical world, not to go off into dimensions. I'm here in the physical world with purpose and reason. This is where I'm supposed to be. If it wasn't required, I wouldn't be here. I know I'm supposed to be here because I am. Right? But from this point, can I stand in this place and completely open to the vibrational? Can I stand in the mortal and open experientially to an awareness of the immortal? Because that's the best game in town. I don't know any game better than that, right? If there was, I'd be playing that one. So part of the journey of this, once we do the work on ourselves, and then we start doing the work with the family, and that comes into our awareness, then we're going to be doing work with one another, right? And that one other, it doesn't matter if it's male or female, we will be attracted to someone to do the work. Now what normally happens is there is a program that starts to run. Because just as we are programmed with the definition of love, we are so programmed with the definition of love that by the time we're 7, we already have it sorted out as what love is. We don't realize this until we manifest that in our adult experience. And this is easier seen by if a child is abused, and therefore the resonance, not the abuse, but the felt resonance underlying the abuse becomes the emotional signature associated with love. That child will grow up, attract someone, and navigate that experience into abuse. There will have to be abuse there, otherwise they don't feel loved. And someone who's physically being beaten in a relationship, you can go to that person and say, why don't you leave? And they'll say, because they really love me. And they're being true. They're speaking the truth. Because the way I feel after I've been beaten is the same feeling I received when I was a child, when I asked for love. That's what love is to me. And remember, the child is the creator. The child is made in the image of the God. It creates. It has full say over the quality of the experience. Whatever it believes love is what it manifests in the physical. That's why it's very important to get in touch with the child and set an example for the child of what love really is, being without condition. Because until we set that example, it continues to impose its definition of love on our experience. On our experience. So there's that going on. There's the unconscious definition of love, but there's also the program. We are endowed with a program of how to approach the experience of love in this world. Everyone is endowed with that program. If you walk around here, you'll see little girls with their mummies and the little girls pushing a pram with a baby in it, right? Program. Right? You're going to be a breeder. That's your program, right? That's what happens. Is you're sad and you're upset, here's a doll. Have a baby. Because when you grow up and you get sad and upset, have a child. That'll be the solution to that problem, right? And it's a program, and it's so subtly embedded in us that the moment this resonance, because what happens is after puberty, this resonance is going to arise into our awareness. It's going to call us. The portal is going to, someone on the other side of the portal is going to go, hey, open up, right? And the moment that happens, what happens is we're so programmed, we click into a program. So the moment that possibility comes up with someone else, we actually go unconscious. We fall over into a sleep. We call it falling in love, right? Emphasis on falling. And the first thing that we start to do is, when we find someone that we think we can experience love with, in the world, what do we call it? Dating, right? But actually it's intimidating, right? We start to intimidate that person, and we'll manipulate them into what? Becoming our mommy and daddy. We'll do whatever it takes to get them to be our mommy and daddy, because really the child is looking for mommy and daddy. Until I become my own parent, my child will look in the world for mommy and daddy. Who's mommy and daddy? Who's going to take care of my needs and wants, right? And if I find that person, I'll marry them, right? And if I suspect it's that person and it brings me the feeling of that possibility, then I will do anything. I'll buy them big rocks. I will do anything to get them, right, to marry me. And when we marry someone, marriage is not about intimacy. If you really want to destroy intimacy, get married. It's guaranteed, because a marriage is a contract. It's an agreement. It's a condition. Love does not operate in condition. It's not about condition. And when we get married, we say, what do we say? We don't say I be, we say I do. It's about what I'm going to do, what we're going to do together. And if what we're doing together doesn't work, we'll do more stuff. We'll add babies to it. We'll throw houses on top of it. We'll throw, right? Until we get to a point where we realize this isn't working, right? And then we'll break away and go and do that to somebody else. And it's an unconscious program, right? And for many people will run that program. And that's what's required for them. Because there's something to be learned from that program. There's something to be learned from that program. And some people will awaken in the program. Like you'll wake up one day and you'll look at the person you're married to and go, what the hell? This is my parents. This is my mom and dad, right? And some people will go through marriage and go through the other side of it and go, I'm not doing that again, right? I know everyone thinks that's what you're supposed to do, but that's crazy right there, right? Because in a marriage, we call it sleeping together. We go to sleep together. We move into the same room. We lie in that person's emotional imprint every night, and we think we're going to get any rest. You can't rest lying in someone else's emotional imprint every night. Eventually, we just completely shut down. Eventually, all we're doing is looking for space, right? That's why we invented golf. Let's go and walk for miles and miles, just get some space, right? So this journey is not about that journey. That journey we may go through, and if we go through, it's valid. There is something for us there if we're going through it. One of the crosses that we get to bear is when we wake up in the midst of that and realize, whoa, all I've done is try to chain this human being down and manipulated them into satisfying my needs and wants. I'm with them because I cannot be alone. I'm with them because I don't feel safe. I'm with them because it's the right thing to do. I'm with them because I'm not with them because of love, right? Because of what love really is. Because when we integrate our emotional signature that drove us into such an arrangement, that structure will fall apart, that we call marriage. Marriage is a structure that contains the emotional signature. It's built out of an emotional signature. And marriage serves politics, religion, and commerce. It doesn't serve anyone who wants to be intimate. It's not about intimacy. It's not about that journey. In this journey, this is a different journey. When we talk about the intimacy journey with another human being, this is not that. That has its value, just like my childhood had its value. Right? I had to go through that in order to get to where I am here. And I've also been married, and I had to go through that to get to where I am here, right? But the journey of intimacy with another human being is about something different to that. That is really about this. That is about this. Right? It's about the relationship between the mental body and the emotional body. Because we live in a world in which the mental body believes it is God. Right? There are even people that believe that you cannot talk to God unless you're a man. That's how much of the dark ages we're in. Right? Most of our organizational systems are run by men. Because there is a belief that if you're a man, you're somehow better than a woman. And although we're in the modern age, it's still all about manipulating the woman, because it's about manipulating the emotional body. We are that way to ourselves. We really believe that if I understand something, I can fix it. If I understand, there are whole groups of people that believe thought creates. If I can think about something enough, I can make it happen. It's crazy. That's how we've gone mental, and that's part of our mental. But actually, the causal point of the quality of the experience is not the thoughts. It's this. It's the emotional. The condition of the emotional body. The emotional body is the door into the vibrational. That's the same saying as a woman is the key to God. Whoa! Right? Right? But it's actually not even about that. It's about my own emotional body is the doorway in which I walk into the vibrational. Right? Now, if we look, for example, if we take our, and that's completely dismissed, if we take like our religious paradigm, right? Well, the one we were looking at today, and I only use that one because it's such a groovy one to look at the condition of things. In our religious paradigm, we have the physical, which we call the mother, and we'll say that's Mary, Mother Mary, right? And we have the mental, which is Jesus, which is the teacher. And then we have God, which can be God, who's just not present. Where's God? I don't know. And we have Joseph, who can also represent the father, who actually was kind of not there when it actually happened. When the conception happened, he was in the back doing carpentry. He was never really involved. Right? And then we have the other archetype which we have, which is this archetype, right? Right. So we have these archetypes, right? So in the world, you have some choices here. Because the work of intimacy is realizing what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman. What does it really mean to be a man or a woman? What does it really mean, right? Because if we look at our archetypes, you see, our archetypes don't do this to us, they reflect it for us. Just as our politicians don't do anything to us, they reflect how we are collectively, right? And so if we look at this, when we want help, where do we go? We go to the mental and the physical. So a Christian would pray to Jesus. He believes that Jesus is going to save you. The mental body is the Savior. Or the Mother Mary, one of the two, right? In the Christian, there is no emotional body. It's been completely eliminated. It doesn't have any say at all. There's no representative for the emotional body. Although there is, her name is called Magdalene, right? But Magdalene is what? A prostitute. She's a whore. This part of ourselves is we prostitute it. We force it to get what feeling we want out of it. We sedate it and control it. Right? We manipulate it to get the feeling. That's what happens to a prostitute. I manipulate you for my pleasure. And that's the way we behave there. So for a woman, we have certain archetypes, right? Out of this framework, this matrix, we have certain archetypes. A woman has a choice. You can either be a mother or a whore. That's about it. And means that you're either going to have babies and breed, or you are going to be used to sell products. And you better be dressed to sell, right? If you're not, there's something wrong with you. If you're not married and having children, or selling yourself on some level, there's something wrong going on, right? But if you want equality with us, you can't have equality by being a woman. You have to behave like a man, right? Now, but what is a man? A man can either be a really nice guy who's attached to his mother, or a devil, or just not available in the back doing the hobby somewhere, right? So those are our archetypes, but that's not really our archetypes. The intimacy journey is about realigning this, by realigning these, by bringing that back into its rightful place. The emotional body is the causal point of the quality of the experience. When I come together with another to explore intimacy, remember it's into me-ancy, not into you-ancy. It's not about the other person. But what I'm doing is I'm entering an agreement with the other person to say, look, I want to find out where it is I'm manipulating so that I get an experience other than the one I'm having, and where I'm sedating and controlling the experience that's going on. So the best place to find that is in the one who's going to show me that is the lover, right? Because the true definition of the lover isn't my orgasmobile, which is our old definition of the lover. The true definition of the lover is the one that enables me to realize that in myself. To realize what love truly is. And love has no condition or structure in which it operates. You can't put it in a cage. You can't make it sign an agreement. Right? It won't show up. What happens in the intimacy journey is love comes to us. If we are lucky enough to enter the journey of intimacy, what's really going on is love is going to come to us and say, can you set me free? Can you be the one person to set me free? Because everyone else I go to puts conditions on me. Can you really set me free? Because in as much as you set me free, I will show you what I am. If you can't set me free, then you can only see me according to the condition of your perceptual matrix in the emotional body. But if you can truly set me free, if you are really willing to take a look at and take responsibility for those aspects of yourself that are causing you to want to manipulate me and to turn me into something for your pleasure and to sedate and control me when I attempt to bring you something to help you grow, if you really look at that and clear those, I'm going to show you what I am. And it doesn't matter what form I come to you in, if you can set me free. And that's the journey of the intimacy. It's not marriage. Marriage is saying, oh, there's love. Can I just chain you down? Put you into conditions and have you behave the way I want to behave? Right? It's a very different journey. And that journey is the bottom of the barrel. The intimacy journey is the bottom of the barrel. And the thing about the intimacy journey is it doesn't turn out the way we think it's going to. The intimacy partner is not the one who lives in the bed and goes to sleep with you. The intimacy partner is the one that assists us to open the portal and then stands on each side of the portal. And actually, the deeper you get into the intimacy journey, the more space there is between you. Because the relevance of this, although this has got to be worked through, then that's worked through, then we get to that. And as we open to this, that is no longer the place of anchoring anything. It's not about holding on to. It's about setting, I'm going to be the one person, to my intimacy partner, what my declaration is, I'm going to be the one person to set you free. I'm going to be the one person who will allow you to be exactly as you are and put no condition on it. I'm going to be that one person. And you know what? I don't require anything from you. No agreement, no nothing. Right? And once we make that commitment, that stuff, all the points of loss, of heartbreak, of identifying love in form, getting attached to the form, and then being shattered because the form was taken away, all of that is going to come up for cleansing. And that's really deep stuff. That's really touching on that which keeps us in a mortal framework. Because what love will show us, when it shows us what it really is, it's showing us what we really are. Right? But it will only show us if we set it free. And so the journey of intimacy with another human being is that we really say that. You know, if you love someone, set them free. We already said it in our language. We just don't know what that means. We go, if I love you, I'll set you free as long as you sign this contract. And you're here every night in my bed. All right? It's not about that journey at all. That's the final part of the cleansing of the emotional body. When you come face to face with another and you commit to doing that level of the work. And that's a rough part. I'll tell you what, kicked my ass all over the place. Because I've got a mental body. I'm a mental guy, right? I just want to chain it up. I want to know where it is. I want to have it tell me that it loves me. I want all these things. I want these conditions, right? That's our nature, right? And to overcome all of that. And so there are ways of approaching that too. There are procedures to approach that with another person. And I don't know if we'll look at that now. Let's see.
4:35.
So, I'm wondering.
Can I just ask about those procedures and what you're talking about? Does the other person have to be aware that this is what you're doing?
Yes. Look, if you wake up in a marriage and you are doing this work and your partner wouldn't even read a book like The Presence Process and has nothing to do with this, that's where you are, that's what's required. It doesn't mean you can't do the work, because they're going to reflect for you, they're going to reflect why you're in that place, and as you work with that, there will be a transformation. So there are different levels of the intimacy work. Remember, every level of the intimacy work is appropriate. When I'm with myself, I actually don't even have a partner. I'm just getting upset at work. That's what's required. That's where I am. When I become more deeply aware of the family stuff and that's being exposed to me, that work I do. When I'm married to someone who's really pushing my buttons, that's the work I do, right? And at some point, if it's required, I will come face to face with somebody with whom I will do the intimacy work. In other words, we will say to each other, the reason why we are encountering each other in this part of our walk is to do this work. That's the primary reason. And it's necessary, when we enter the intimacy journey with another human being, it's really necessary to verbalize it to each other and go, look, we're in this for intimacy, to explore intimacy. Because once that's verbalized as the intent, everything that has nothing to do with intimacy is going to start showing itself. Right? It's going to feel ugly and sticky. Right? All aspects of the physical, mental, and emotional relationship that have nothing to do with intimacy. Everywhere where I'm manipulating that person, or just trying to pleasure myself, or just looking for someone to take out my drama, and all that becomes very obvious once I've made the declaration. And then there's two levels of the work that happen. The one level is this work that we're doing on our own, outside of ourselves. You can't do this intimacy work. You can't even go near it until you've done this a certain amount and the family work a certain amount. Because if you don't do the family work, you're going to turn that person into the family work. You're going to start doing this work with them as opposed to just this work, the relationship between the emotional and the mental body. The object of the mental body, because in any relationship, whether it's male, male, female, female, male, female, one of those persons is going to play mental body and one is going to play emotional body. And it's very easy to know who the mental body is because they are the one pursuing. The other one is sedating, right? So the mental body says, let's have sex, honey, and the emotional body says, not now, I've got a headache. That's the role of the mental. The emotional body, the mental body pursues the emotional body just like we do in ourselves. What happens is, when I sedate and control the authentic condition of my own emotional body, and then in turn I manipulate my experience so that I have certain feelings, what happens is my emotional body shuts down. It protects itself because it's being manipulated. And that's the way most women are in the world. Most women, there are very few women that are alive on this planet that feel safe. To be a woman and to feel safe is really rare because women are pursued. On all aspects, women are pursued. Most women don't know what it's like to feel absolutely safe, right? And when they realize that feeling, they'll break down and cry because when they suddenly realize they're safe, it's a very rare experience because the media, the work, the politics, the religion is all about manipulation. It's all about a manipulation of the emotional body, and therefore the resonance is manipulation of women. So in the intimacy experience, what the mental body says is, I am not going to pursue you anymore. I'm not going to pursue you at all. You are going to call the shots from this point onwards. I want you to know that I am not here to turn you into a pleasure mobile. Right? That's not why we're together. Right? Pursuit is chasing. Like chasing. Right? Like a lion pursues a buck. Right? It chases a buck. The pursuit causes the emotional body to shut down. The task of the mental body in the intimacy experience is to create an environment in which the emotional body can feel absolutely safe. And you can't fool the emotional body. You can't, because it's an energetic circumstance. It happens through the eyes. You look at someone, you're either pursuing them or not. It comes right through the soul, right? And so only when the emotional body feels absolutely safe, what it does is it opens like a flower. And when it opens, the vibrational comes rushing through and blesses the mental and the physical with the resonance of the vibrational. They do not get any of the goodies until this is open. And what the mental believes, it's getting its goodies by manipulating here. It manipulates, it sedates and controls because it believes that this is where that's how it's going to accomplish it. Although it doesn't even know it's doing that. The mental body doesn't even know it's doing that. It has to be shown. You realize it. For example, a good way to express this is, the best way to see this is in sexuality. The best way to see this in sexuality. Let's take a relationship, say a male-female relationship, right? And let's say the male plays the mental body and the female plays the emotional body. The male will pursue the emotional body. Will pursue the emotional body. The whole intent of the male is to reach a destination. The mental body only understands destination. It has a beginning and an ending for everything. Everything must have an ending, right? And its destination is the orgasm, right? Now, when I said earlier on today, life is sex. Life is God having sex. That's what it is. Just pick your orgasm, right? Maybe your orgasm is earning $50,000 a month. Maybe your orgasm is earning enough to buy that car. What is the destination? What is the destination? Because that's actually the orgasm. And while we have a destination, we are entrapped in mortality consciousness. Because actually, there is no destination. It's just a journey. There is no destination. There's points of reference, but there's no destination. And so what the mental body does is it wants a destination, and it manipulates the emotional body to get a destination. So, for example, the type of practice in the intimacy experience is when the man says, okay, I'll have sex, but no orgasm. put the orgasm aside, right? And I won't initiate it anymore. I do not initiate sex. The woman initiates the sex, and I do not have an orgasm. Now, once that practice is instituted, the man is sooner or later is going to ask a question. Well, then why the hell am I doing this? And then we're going to get somewhere, right? We're going to get somewhere. Once that question, because we have to see in our own life, where is my orgasm? Do I have an orgasm about this presentation? Do I think there's somewhere that I'm supposed to get to so I can feel good about what's happening here? Am I manipulating it to get to that point? Or am I just going to be on a journey? Right? Because the whole of life is like that. And so as we come and do the intimacy work together, we're going to show each other, because one will play the mental body, one will play the emotional body. So in the sexual experience, one can institute that practice immediately and say, whoever's pursuing the sexual practice, and that's why you've got to be doing it together, right? If your husband is like way fast asleep and is not doing any of this work, you can't go to him and say, no more orgasm for you. And you know what? We don't have sex unless I say so. It's not going to work out too good, right? Because it really has to be coming from a conscious place of going, this is not for a forever thing. This is just like you put it aside for a while because I want to see something about myself that I can't see, that this is going to show me. So that's like one of the practices. And what that will show you, first of all, the woman will start to see when she is not being pursued, or when the emotional body is not being pursued, who's ever playing the emotional body, will become aware where it's sedating. Become aware of where it's automatically sedating, closing off. For no reason at all, I just close off because that's just how I am, right? And the mental body will become aware of where it's hunting. Where can I get the next one? What can I do to get the next one, right? All my manipulation. And that behavior has to be cleared out, because what we're actually doing is we're manipulating what the vibrational is. We're manipulating God for an outcome. And the outcome is, I want to feel better about this, whatever this imprinted condition. But that's not what it's about. That's only when we go through that level of cleansing does our approach to whatever God is become a response to God and not as a reaction to our life experience. Right? I'm not entering spirituality because I have a particular destination in mind. Right? I'm not going to do this practice because this is what I want to accomplish. All of that has to be removed. Our planet is struggling because of the orgasm, the intended orgasm of the people on the planet. I want this. I want $50,000 a month. I want to have this size house. I want to have this destination so I can feel better about myself, right? And it's taking the vibrational and relating to it in such a way that it's self-destructive and destructive to those around us. And the intimacy journey, you see the intimacy journey is cleansing the emotional body. It's that last bottom of the barrel frequency of manipulation. And once that is accomplished, because the portal of love in this world is two beings. The true portal of love in this world is two beings. In other words, when a man and a woman come together and have a child, that very experience, through that portal of experience, comes the definition of love of those two people. They take that definition of love and they implant it into the child. And that child will then be attracted to one who has the same definition of love, will come together, and that will be the portal to continuing that definition of love. So if love is going to enter this world in a very real way, without any conditions on it, that portal has to be cleaned out. That portal, those two beings have to come together, and they come and have children without imprinting any definitions on that child. That's only when love enters this world and walks around in its true form, in the physical. Right? We can do a lot of that work on our own. That's what the real story about Jesus is. Those people, did you know how much work that they did? So that they could bring a child in one child in who could accomplish that resonance, and we're still talking about it. That's just one child, right? And that is the new paradigm that opens to humanity, is we don't have children to work out our stuff. Because otherwise that's what we do. We have children and we use them to work out our stuff. Right? That's not what children are there for. They're a means to bring love into the world in a completely physical form. But in order to accomplish that, we've got to do the inner child work before we start popping out the outer child. And that's the new paradigm that's coming in. That's what this work leads to. It leads to the divine conception. It leads to that level of experience. And it's not everyone's task to do the intimacy work on that level. If it comes to you, and the thing about intimacy is, if it's required, it'll be given. You cannot go onto eharmony.com and look for your intimacy partner. Forget it. I want someone to work with it. No, forget it. Because all you're going to do is look for somebody who has the same unintegrated emotional signature as you have. The intimacy partner, whoever that is for us, is given. They're placed next to us. And we may not initially recognize them because we walk around leaning over in a needy, wanting state because of our imprinting. And what we do is we walk around until we find someone leaning over in the equal and opposite direction, and then we go, boom. Oh, it feels so good. Wow. Will you marry me? Right? That's how we approach it. But the intimacy journey is very different. You first fall over, you pick yourself up, you stand on your own 2 feet. When you stand on your own 2 feet, someone enters your presence who's standing on their own 2 feet, a mirror who reflects that. And you feel that. There's no push and pull. You actually can be at peace with this person. You can rest around them. Now this is a person that I can work with, right? This is a person that I can work with. And the intent is to open up the emotional so that this happens, right? Because that's the grail, right? To open up the grail. It'll be really awful if people realize that the Magdalene is the grail, right? Oh dear, we got that wrong, right? So it's about opening that up inside of us. Remember, even when you're working with an intimacy partner, you're still doing the work internally. It's never about them, right? It's just a different way to get to a different level of the work. It really is the bottom of the barrel. Once the intimacy work is done, then what we do is we start to open ourselves up directly and recognize the vibrational resonance and start to digest that directly. And that always comes to us for breakfast in the morning, so we'll do that tomorrow morning after breakfast. So we have a few minutes if anyone has a question.
Well, maybe I'll get to it tomorrow, but just, I read the last section that you added to Alchemy of the Heart, where you talk about the heart as being different, as being a soul capacity that is kind of like the portal between the vibrational
yes.
and the rest of our bodies. So it just seems to me that the vibrational is always there, kind of knocking on the door. Sometimes it's knocking really hard. And
always.
Sometimes it breaks through.
Yes.
So it's just, from the way that you're presenting it, though, it's like we're doing most of the work, But I kind of, my impression is that, the other side, whether we're feeling crucified or we're just having a bad day or whatever, can always break through, and we can, in the intimacy, we can actually see the other person just as they are and love that person. That can just happen.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's when you know, because the vibrational, one of the resonances of the vibrational is laughter. Laughter is the medicine we're after. It really is, because once we laugh at something, it's over. The drama is over. The attachment is over. The illusion is over once we laugh. And intimacy really is about getting to that point with another human being where you can look into their eyes, and it can take some work to get there, where you can actually look and see who's looking back. And when you really, not from an abstract point of view, But from an experiential point of view, when you have that experience of looking in their eyes and actually seeing who it is looking at you, there's nothing you can do but laugh because it's so ridiculous. So it's so silly how much we've got lost from that connection, right? And then you can have glimpses of it, but now can you open it and maintain the opening so that it's always there, so that whenever you look in that one aspect of God's eyes, see what that is, truly? Because if that can be opened and established, once that's opened with that person, and the thing of opening the portal is one thing with a person, keeping it open is another. That's the challenge. Keeping it open is another. But once I'm able to open it and keep it open with one person, I then can cast my awareness upon other people in my life that I am close to on some level, and I can start opening the portal there, open the portal there, open the portal there. But it starts with one. Truly starts with one. It's this thing of, if I cannot be with myself, it's arrogant to think that I can go, if I cannot be at peace with myself, be in the peace. It's arrogant to think that I can go home and be at peace with my family. I must first establish that in myself. Then I can bring that to my family situation. If I cannot be at peace with my birth family, I think I'm going to actually get that together with one stranger. Right? So first with my family, let the resonance of peace rise up in there, and then I will really be able to establish. If I can't do it with one stranger, and I want to actually do it with God, hang on a moment, right? So let's do it in an organic unfolding, right? There is an organic unfolding. It's all about making the approach. So this is with myself, with my family, with one another, and then through that revelation to realize what's really going on. To establish that directly with the vibrational while I'm in the physical. In every aspect of my life, not to be doing a practice to do it, but actually having that be the resonance. That's the intent of the journey. Once that is, then to live it and not, talk about it or think about it or analyze it. Eventually, that's why when one gets that what's leading us to this is the felt aspect of our experience. When we trust the felt aspect of our experience and can be with it without condition, no matter as it comes up, that's our intent at least, because it's very challenging sometimes to be with it. But if we realize that that's where the juice is at and commit to that, game over. There's nothing else. There's nothing else to do. There's no understanding. There's nothing to be read. Everything will be revealed through the insights that come through that. And that then we found our path. But it's our path. It's not someone else's path. It's not the path. It's our path. And for every human being, there is a specific path. That's why this idea that there's a path for everybody. No, this is the path, and is shown to me by my heart. The feelings emanating from my heart are leading me towards the vibrational, because they come from the vibrational. They come from. So I either react to them and I go further out into the physical world, or I respond to them and go further into the vibrational. That actually is the only choice. There is no other real choice being made. And once that becomes the way that I am, everything else is taken care of. When I take care of my heart, everything else is added unto me. Everything is provided for that journey. The universe is so aware of us personally that it knows the moment we hit upon this journey, and it will support us in the most profound ways, because that's what it wants. It wants to say hello. Like, hello? Knock, 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 knock. That's enough for today.